2 and 1. FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band, and tonight we're actually talking with a guy that's not in one band. He's not in two bands. He's in three bands. Yeah, that's right. We're talking with the lead singer, Jacob Bunton. He's with the band Adler. He's with the band Lynam, and he's also hanging out with Gus G and helped him write that record. How we doing, by the way, Jacob?
Doing good, man. Doing great.
So I guess the first question is, I've already confused the listeners. Are you confused half the time where you should be?
Dude, I'm always confused. I don't even know where I am right now. Actually, I do know where I am right now. I'm at home for 2 days, and then I fly to Toronto, Canada to meet up with Adler. And then right after that, I fly back to the southeast to play some Lynam shows, and then I go and meet up with Gus G. So it's just nonstop.
Wow. Well, let's break them down, I guess. Let's start with Lynam first, because I believe that's kind of the band you were with originally to start out with. How did that band all come about?
Yeah, it's interesting. Lynam, we started years ago and started making records right away, and we all met, believe it or not, at on eHarmony.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
You had me for a second.
People all the time, how did you guys meet? No, we've just always been friends and got together, did a band, signed a deal with Universal, put out a record, and it's just been a nonstop party. And then when a couple of years ago, when Guns N' Roses was being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Steven Adler, the drummer, reached out to me and said, "You know what? I'm the only guy in Guns N' Roses that has not put out a record since Appetite for Destruction." He said, Slash has, he had Velvet Revolver, and he had Slash's Snake Pit, and now he's got Slash featuring Miles Kennedy. That Izzy did the Juju Hounds, Duff did his thing, Axl did Chinese Democracy. He's like, we're going in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in April. I would like to do a record. I love your voice. I love your songwriting. Are you in? And it's like, yeah, that sounds like a fun time. And so did that, and then kind of the same thing happened with Ozzy's guitar player. I write a lot of songs, and me and Gus were writing songs for Ozzy, and then we just started writing songs for his solo record, and next thing you know, I'm singing on it, and we have a record there. So then one project turned into three projects that it's just nonstop, but never a dull moment for sure. I
was going to say never a dull moment, and you can't really get into too much trouble when you got to be at three different places at once, right?
That's right.
Hey, Jacob, right. Yeah, and let's talk. I want to go back to Lynam first of all. Obviously, that's kind of the band I think that you kind of helped create, whereas obviously Steven Adler and his band, and then Gus G had his band. But with Lynam, how the name Lynam, how did that actually come all about? What's the story behind the name on that band?
The true story is, this really is the story. The drummer is my best friend in the world. His name is David, and when we first met, he was the worst drummer that I'd ever played with in my entire life. And I used to tell him that we used to just have fun, just jamming around. And his name is David Lynam, and we started booking shows. And the promoter said, "What are you going to call the band? What are you guys called?" I said, "We're called Lynam." And David's like, "We're not calling the band my last name." I said, "Actually, we are." I said, "Because if we call the band your last name, you'll have no choice but to get better unless you want to drag your family name through the mud." So it started as a joke, and then the band kind of took off, and we got a record deal and went on the road and developed a fan base. And by that point, it was too late to change the name, so the name stuck. So I'm the first person in the history of the planet to be in two bands named after the drummer. You got one band Lynam, you got one band Adler, and of course my next project that's coming out, Grohl.
I was on that right away this time. I like that. Hey, that is probably, obviously you mentioned that. You probably are. It's probably, we can make a trivia question out of that now, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. What's it like you going, obviously playing with a band like Lynam, you guys were friends, kind of got together. Then you're going to play with a guy that was in a legendary band, and obviously Guns N' Roses. What's it like going from a transition from a band that you guys kind of hung out as friends and then going to being a front of a guy that is well known all over?
It was crazy. Like, everything happened so fast, I really didn't have time to think about it. I'm glad I didn't have time to think about it. Playing in Lynam, like you said, we're all best friends. We're all brothers. Even our road crew, like, we're all just super, super close friends.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got the call to do the Adler thing, when Adler went on the road, part of the thing was, hey, let me bring my band and my road crew to be the road crew for Adler. That way, nobody's out of a job. Everybody, stays on the road. Everybody keeps the cash flow coming in. Everybody still, is involved with music, and it's perfect. And Steven was like, yeah, let's do that. So when, and the same thing with Gus G, like my band, like Lynam, they go with me everywhere. So we're always together. But to answer your question, the difference is obviously Steven and Guns N' Roses and all those guys, they were hanging on my wall when I was a kid. It's like Appetite for Destruction is my favorite record. They're the reason I got into music in the first place, because I loved Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, just all the real rock, and the most surreal thing in the world was making the record. Slash played on the record too, so it's like I'm in the vocal booth singing, I'm looking out, Steven's on drums, Slash is on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just pinching myself going, how in the hell did I get here? This is crazy. So that's the difference. And like I said, I didn't really have time to think about it because everything happened so fast, and I'm glad that I didn't, because maybe I would have psyched myself out,
I probably would have been psyching myself out going, what am I doing here? I don't belong here.
It's nuts, man. It's nuts. And, we've gotten to do a lot of things playing in Adler that we normally wouldn't have done. Like, we got to go to Japan, which was really cool.
Right.
And in Japan, Duff played with us. So
really?
It's like, always surrounded by these Guns N' Roses characters, which is awesome. It's just amazing.
Now, I haven't had a chance to see Adler play a show at all, which shame on me, right? But they haven't come around here yet. I don't think you guys have been around in this area yet. But do you guys dibble-dally a little bit into some GNR stuff, or do you not do that at all?
No, we do. We do. We do basically the same thing that Slash and his band do. It's
okay.
Like we come out and we play our record. I think there's 11 or 12 songs on our record, and then we play Guns N' Roses songs, and everybody sings along really loud. Used to, the way that it was is we would do our whole album in its entirety. The first shows we ever did were with Kiss, and we would play our whole record in its entirety, and then we would do 2 Guns N' Roses songs, and we would change them up every night. You never knew which 2 we were going to do. It would be 2 off of Appetite for Destruction, obviously, but yeah, we just got back from South America, where we ended up playing about 6 Guns N' Roses songs a night. So you just never know.
Yeah, when you're playing those songs, which song gets the most reaction?
The ones that you would think, like Sweet Child
of Mine, yeah.
The biggest reaction. It's Welcome to the Jungle gets a huge reaction. Paradise City. All the songs go over because everybody pretty much grew up with the record. Even people that are 12 and 13 years old now are still growing up with that record. So all the songs get a good reaction, but Sweet Child of Mine, nothing even compares to. As soon as you start that riff, the whole crowd just goes nuts.
When you're up on stage and you're singing those songs, do you sometimes just stop singing and just listen to the crowd and let them sing it?
All the time. All the time. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, man, God, I wish I would have written this. Steven's getting paid right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be talking to Jay-Z right now. I'd be hanging out at the beach just chilling instead if I'd have wrote this stuff. Instead, I'm working in 3 bands.
So funny.
Hey, we're talking with Jacob Bunton. As we just mentioned, he's with 3 different bands. I want to get with Gus G here, too, a little bit. How did you guys all hook up on that? And obviously, you were saying you helped him write this album that he has out, and his current single on the radio is Burn. How did you guys all hook up?
We hooked up through a mutual producer friend, a guy named Jay Rustin. And Jay is the guy that does Stone Sour, does Anthrax, Pop Evil, all that stuff. He's a really close friend of mine. He was doing some mixing on Gus's stuff, and Gus was looking for somebody to write with to collaborate on Ozzy material and collaborate on his own material as well. And Jay told him about me because I'd written just tons and tons of songs over the years for a lot of different people. And we got together and really hit it off, and it was just a good fit. You know how it is. Sometimes you just have chemistry and things are just really cool, you know, in friendship and songwriting and anything. You know, some people you can just talk to naturally and you're not thinking about the next thing to say, and then some people it's like forced conversation. It's the same way in writing, you know, it just came natural. Everything just came out, so it was really cool.
Very cool, very cool. Hey, let's talk about kind of when you were a youngster, growing up and that. What kind of background did you have growing up, music-wise? I guess what kind of led you into being a lead singer of bands?
Well, it's interesting because my musical influences were all over the place. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. So in Alabama, literally, you're enriched in this culture. You've got rock and roll, you've got country, you've got bluegrass, you've got hip hop and rap, you've got everything else. I grew up. I was always pretty obsessed with rock music. Like I said, Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and Kiss and stuff like that. I also love the pop side of stuff, like, you know, Duran Duran and Prince. You know, that's two of my favorites. And then I really got into, you know, Alice in Chains and Nirvana and always pretty much the rock side, I think, you know. I've just always been a song guy, you know, somebody that can write a great song. It doesn't matter what genre it is. There's a really famous songwriter, a woman named Diane Warren, that's one of my biggest influences. Like, she wrote I Don't Want to Miss a Thing for Aerosmith, but at the same time the song was number one on the rock chart with Aerosmith. It was number one on the country chart with a country artist. And it's like, and all of a sudden I realized, you know, it's like a great song is a great song. It doesn't matter what genre it is. You know, it just, the emotion behind it, the content of it, if it speaks to you, it can be a great song. So I've just always been a song type of guy.
Absolutely. And obviously you do a lot of writing in songs. Where do you get your inspiration for writing?
It just depends. A lot of times, like, I listen to the band, like where they come from. It's like, you know, if I'm writing with Pop Evil, I'll ask, you know, Pop Evil, I'll be like, okay, what are you guys going for on this record? What's up? You know, and we'll sit there and discuss it, and then we'll do a song. Same thing for a band like Otherwise, or you know, you name it, so forth, so on and on. It usually starts with a conversation. Well, it always starts with a conversation, and it's weird because the writing sessions, whenever I meet bands for the first time to get together and write, when they first show up, a lot of people just open up their guitar cases and immediately start writing, and I don't ever do that. As soon as they get here, or as soon as I get to where they are, like, we go walking down the street, we go to Starbucks, we go in shops, we go and we just talk. And just talk and talk and talk for about an hour or two, just so I can get to know them, just, you know, wrap my head around where they're coming from. And the song always comes out better like that. Really cool,
really cool. We're talking with Jacob Bunton. Obviously, he's a lead singer of 3 bands, also a songwriter in that, too. You're mentioning songwriting with Pop Evil and Otherwise. What are some of the songs that you've helped those guys out with?
Otherwise, their single called, what's it called? I Don't Apologize.
Yep, I Don't Apologize.
Yeah, did that one, and some stuff with Pop Evil on the new record. To be honest with you, this is kind of embarrassing. Like, that's all I do is I write every single day when I'm not on tour, even when I'm on tour. So I can't even remember songs. I can't even remember titles or anything because of the fact that, like, it's like as soon as they're done, they get recorded, and then I'm on to the next thing.
Right.
Always on the road, so it's hard to keep track of everything.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, it's one thing to be a lead singer in the front, but really, I think where it all comes is in the songwriter itself. And interpretation of sometimes what something's written isn't always what really it comes out from the lead singer, isn't it? It can be determined or interpreted in different ways, right?
Oh, man, Lynam has a song called By Your Side that is written about a guy that we grew up with in Alabama named Daryl. that actually killed his girlfriend, got away with it because you can't be tried twice for the same thing. It's called double jeopardy. Anyway, he got away with it, and then after the jury found him not guilty, it turns out that he did do it, but there was nothing that they could do about it. Yeah. And so that's what the song's about. The song's about our buddy that murdered his girlfriend. But when people listen to the song, I can't tell you how many people are like, "Oh, we played that song at our wedding. It's such a beautiful love song." And it's like, that's hilarious to me. That's not what the song is. It's not a love song.
Right.
So yeah, you just never know how people are going to take the lyrics. And the cool thing about music is something like a song that might mean one thing to me, it might mean something completely different to you.
And that's the cool thing about even writing music, like you just said. You might write it for one thing, and somebody's playing at their wedding for something else because they think it has that meaning to them, and it's fine, I guess. Doesn't matter as long as they like it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hey, let's get into a little bit more into your music collection. You mentioned you had all sorts of genres of music you kind of listen to, but what maybe one thing in your current music collection might shock me right now that you're going, really? That's what he's listening to?
You know what? I don't think I could shock you.
Okay.
I don't think I could shock you because now I think ever since people started getting iPods and music on their phones and everything else, you'll see the biggest guy. You'll see somebody like Chris Kell from Five Finger Death Punch, with the long braided beard, and you're like, man, I bet everything on his iPod is so heavy. And then it'll totally blow your mind when you're sitting there looking through a set list or through a song list, and there's like 10 Prince songs in a row or something, or a Duran Duran song or something like that. It's like you just never know anymore. I think it's all coming down to everybody's starting to be like, you know what? It's less about genre and more about great songs.
Yes.
But yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of country on my iPod. There's a lot of like I said, pop music. Yeah, I mean, Madonna, I don't know.
Yeah, that's all right.
I don't think I can shock you, though.
Well, you never know. You could be. You don't have any polka on there?
Yes, Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay.
And every album, if anybody's familiar with Weird Al, every single record, he has a polka song. It's basically a compilation of whatever songs are popular at that time that he puts the record out, and it's always hilarious.
Hey, what current band in active rock are you liking right now? Are there some bands out there that you're liking in the active rock scene?
Man, there's a lot of great bands that I'm digging right now. I heard a band the other day. I'm not really familiar with them, but I think they're called Red Sun Rising or something.
Akron, Ohio.
Yeah, man. I really, really dig that. Nothing More. I really, really dig them. There's a lot of cool things. Royal Blood. There's a lot of really cool things that's going on at rock radio right now that's definitely got me excited.
Hey, you mentioned rock radio. Talk about the state of rock radio. Obviously, you've been around the business a little bit. I guess what's your take on rock radio today, as maybe it was, say, 10 years ago?
Well, I think used to everything wasn't put in such a box that it is now, because when I was growing up, when we were all growing up, there were stations, the stations that were rock stations, they weren't just one specific genre of rock. It seemed like there was, you might hear something heavy, but then you might hear something really light, and you might hear, a ballad, you might hear this or that. A lot of times when I'm going through towns now, when I turn on an active rock station, it seems like it's just one thing. It seems like one band goes into the next band, goes into the next band, and sometimes it's really hard to tell, differentiate the bands, because the singer sounds the same or whatever. That's one of the bands that I just named. I'm like really excited about, because all three of those bands that I just named, they sound completely different from each other, but yet they're still rock and roll. They're still carrying that torch of rock, and that's what I would like to say. That's what I would like to see. I think, rock radio is just as important now as it's ever been, maybe more important now, because there's fewer and fewer rock stations. It seems like a lot of in a lot of markets, the rock stations become top 40 stations or become talk radio stations. So it's still extremely, extremely important. And if you're fortunate enough to have an active rock station in your town, you got to cherish that. You got to support that rock station. If the station is bringing an event in the town, you need to go there. You need to be there. You need to be vocal. You need to do that. Be a part of it. Because there's so many towns across the U.S. where there's not a rock station at all.
Right. And I've talked to a lot of bands, too, that they've gone and said, oh, boy, we used to go to this town all the time because they had an active rock station, and, boy, everybody would come out, and then they switched it over to a different station, and now they don't even bother going there because they know they're not going to get the crowd they used to get.
Yeah, it's really tough, man. Jackson, Mississippi in the South used to be a huge market. Mm-hmm. We played that market with everybody from Papa Roach to Hinder to you name it. And, I think the last show we played there was with Hellstorm. And it's like, it was just amazing, great crowd, packed out. As soon as the station flipped and they lost that station, we went back probably 6 months later. And it's bad, man. You play to crickets because nobody even knows that you're in town. Just the top 40 station's not going to say, hey, Lynam's in town tonight, or Papa Roach is in town tonight, or anything like that, because it's not their people. It's not their records. So that part of it is a shame. So yeah, if you're fortunate enough to have an active rock station in your town, you got to be a part of it. You got to be a voice and cherish that.
We're talking, yeah, absolutely, Jacob. We're talking with Jacob Bunton. He's with the band Lynam. Also hangs out with Adler and Gus G too. We'll get to what's going currently on with those guys in just a moment. But maybe I already just gave this answer away, or maybe I made it for you. If you had to put together a 3-band bill, maybe you could just have the 3 guys get together, and there you go. Is that what you'd want?
No, because I would have to sing. I would have to sing for 3 shows.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd probably be tired. Obviously, have you ever had a chance to play 2 bands together at once, or you've never had that happen, I'm assuming?
No, that's never happened. Not yet, knock on wood.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be enjoyable or just overly exhausting.
Yeah.
Who knows? I guess it depends on the mood, what day of the week it is.
All right, so let's pick. Let's just scrap the whole thing and say, what other bands would you like to be on a bill if you had to go out with? If you're going out with Lynam or Adler, or maybe you're going out with Gus G. Who would the other bands be on that bill you'd like to play with?
Man, I'll tell you right now, everybody on the planet, it seems like it's the cool thing to make fun of Nickelback and not be a Nickelback fan. I love Nickelback.
Right.
I'm one of those people that I will wave that flag, man. I think they are so great. If anybody has ever seen Nickelback, they know what I'm talking about. Live, they have more pyro than Motley Crue. I mean, their show is absolutely amazing. So Nickelback would be one of those bands.
I can attest for that, by the way, and the pyro stuff, because I was just at Motley Crue 2 weeks ago and I've been to Nickelback a couple of years ago. Yeah, much more pyro at Nickelback than at Motley Crue.
Which is crazy, right?
It is nuts.
Like who thinks that?
If you turn around and you're not looking, you think you're getting blown up.
Yeah, man. Nickelback, they used the same guy that Pantera used, the guy that worked for Pantera their whole career doing their pyro. Yeah.
Wow.
Nickelback uses that guy, so it's just insane, and they will scare the hell out of you at their shows, and it's just amazing. So, I think if there was a 3-band bill that I would love to see, it would be awesome if it was like the original Guns N' Roses, Nickelback, and I don't know, like Motley, it's their final tour, like what you were just talking about.
Right.
It'd be great to see those guys one last time and just see a killer show.
Yeah, it was great. I had a chance, my wife and I, we had a chance to meet and greet Nikki Sixx and that, and also kind of hang out there a little bit. A lot of fun. And boy, 35 years of putting that band together, talking about Motley Crue and what they've accomplished. That's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. When you read their book, The Dirt, or if you read any of their, autobiographies that they've done, it's amazing that they're not still a band after 35 years, but that they're even still alive. And definitely it's crazy that they even get on stage, together. I mean, they've done a lot of crap to each other, and they've been through a lot of crap.
Yes,
So
they have been through it.
not-
And especially, and then Nikki's getting ready to go back out on tour for another 2 years with 6 a.m. So,
Yeah, man, he's a strapping young lad, isn't he?
yeah, he's a glutton for punishment, is what he is, I think.
Yes, he is. I wonder, you know, like you got to think in his head, what's it going to be like going from selling out
I know.
places like Madison Square Garden and all these arenas and just, you know, playing in front of 20,000 people every night. And then when he goes with 6 a.m., you know, it's not going to be those kind of crowds at first because they don't have the notoriety and the name that Motley has. It's interesting. And the same thing with DJ Ashba. You know, he's coming from being in Guns N' Roses where they're playing all arenas and everything. So I wonder if it's going to be one of those things like, this is the greatest thing ever, playing, you know, more intimate places, being really close to the fans, or I wonder if it's going to be a shock to the system, like, where is everybody type of thing. So that'll be interesting to see.
It will be
Great
interesting.
band, though.
It will be, and you know, I'm hoping I get a chance here. I talked to Nikki just briefly. I said, once you're done with your farewell tour, I want to get an interview with you. So hopefully I can ask him that question sometime in 2016, and then I'll let you know. Sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, I know we got to wrap things up here, but I got just a couple other things I want to get to. This is one of my favorite questions I love asking artists, and sometimes it makes you have to think a little bit. What artist would you like to cover one of your songs?
That's an easy one for me. Dave Grohl.
Okay.
Just because that dude is everywhere right now. If Dave Grohl takes a poop, it shows up on Twitter or Instagram. No matter what that guy does, if he walks to the mailbox to check his mail, it shows up. Like, everybody loves that guy, you know. So if there's going to be somebody to cover your song, get Dave Grohl to cover it because the whole world will hear it instantly.
How about a past artist, somebody that's no longer maybe with us or no longer in the business that you'd love to have cover one of your songs?
Kurt Cobain, that'd be awesome.
There you go.
To, you know, and the irony, just because, you know, with Lynam, we're more glammy, you know,
Right.
and kind of everything that he went against is what Lynam is, the whole larger than life rock and roll thing. But I'm like the biggest Nirvana fan because I think his songwriting was just great. So the irony of that would be pretty cool.
We're talking with Jacob Bunton. He's with the band Lynam Adler, and also hangs out with Gus G too, and he's got all sorts of things going on here in the weeks to come. How can we get more information about all three bands and kind of what's going on in your life?
Everybody's website. Gus G's got a website, and I think it's GusG.com. Adler is AdlerRocks.com. And Lynam is actually LynamSucks.com. So it's very easy. To be honest with you, I don't think that anybody updates their web pages anymore. I think everything is like Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff. So go to Facebook. That's the best way. Absolutely.
And touring-wise, Minnesota, are we going to see you up here sometime in the cold, frigid weather?
Man, I hope so. We played First Avenue.
Yeah, now it fell down, you know.
Man, I just saw that it was at a Theory of a Dead Man show the other day, right?
Theory play. Yeah, they were playing The Bitch Came Back, and it actually came down. I'm not kidding you.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen any footage. I just heard about that. Somebody told me about it. But, yeah, hopefully we'll be back in that area sometime sooner than later.
Well, that'd be great to have you come on up sometime and meet the fans up here in this listening area and just to hang out, too, and watch you guys play.
Absolutely, man. Love to do that.
Hey, thanks so much for your time, Jacob. I know we got to go here, but let's see. Let's play the latest from Gus G, and let's play Burn. Does that sound all right?
Sounds awesome.
We'll do that. Here's the latest from Gus G along with Jacob Bunton. This is Burn. It's on The Dark. It's on FM.